Haven't done a video in a while, but I thought I'd do a video today on carrying a gun in your car. Always being prepared if something happens. Where would I want that gun placed in my car? Do I want it above my head? Do I want it be in front of my seat, between my legs? Do I want it in the center console? Do I want it in the middle, by my cup holders? Do I want it on the door? Where would be the best place to place a weapon in case something happens? So with quite a bit of thought of going through, what works for me is I've taken a Kydex holster that I made for my weapon that I'm going to carry in the car when I travel. Therefore, if I'm ever carjacked or anything like that, I'll be ready if something happens. The thought process I went through is, if I'm in my car and I ever need my weapon, what would that purpose be? It would be to defend my life, and it would probably be a carjacking or a robbery. So the thought process I went through with this is, I don't want it up here around my visor, because therefore I have to reach up and grab, which alerts the person. If I have it at my door on the side over here, it's the same thing. In the middle, I have to go toward the middle. So even under the dash, it's all visible. Some of it's visible. Like under the dash could be visible, between my legs could be visible, the cup holder could be visible over in that area. The door on the side wouldn't be visible, maybe from the passenger side, but I could still get to it without someone actually seeing what I'm doing. Therefore, the best thing I came up with was right next to my right side, I have a seatbelt release. Right next to that is where I have my Kydex holster. And I have a steel wire that runs through my Kydex holster down to the seatbelt mount, and then it comes back up and hooks to itself. So that way, when I draw the weapon, my holster stays in place and the gun comes out. It serves two purposes. One, it's hidden from passenger side and from the driver's side. Also, the next purpose it serves is, if someone comes up to my vehicle, I don't want to make any sudden movements that would alert them, other than, okay, let me get my seatbelt off. As I'm reaching for my seatbelt, I can reach for my gun at the same time, and I'll show you more about that as we go through this. The vehicle, looking at the driver's door, as you walk up, if I were sitting in the seat, you would not be able to see my weapon. But now that I came in with the camera, you can clearly see where my weapon sits in relation to my seatbelt release. So as I'm grabbing the seatbelt release, I'm able to disengage my seatbelt, also grab my weapon at the same time, which should be a total surprise to anybody next to your vehicle. So as you're sitting in your vehicle and someone approaches the side and demands your keys, money, wallet, anything, even your car, when you're sitting here, you don't see the weapon, which is right here to my right, and my seatbelt release is right here. So if they come up and they want my car or anything like that, first thing you do is say, okay, let me get my seatbelt off. Reach down. As you're reaching down and you're putting your hand on the weapon, you're putting your thumb on the seatbelt release. And as I push the seatbelt release, I'm pulling up on the gun at the same time, and then I come out with my weapon, and I'm total surprise to the person who's standing. What I have here is a Kydex holster that I carry, everyday carry, with a Shield 9mm, and it has a sweat guard on it, and that's my normal everyday carry. What I did is I took the same holster, but I modified it. If you notice, it doesn't have the sweat guard on it. What I did was, when I took the sweat guard down, I took it down even with this. So that way it gives me full control on my weapon, and it's totally out of my way. The only thing in my way is my seatbelt release, which is not really in the way. It's more of a helps provide support when you're drawing the weapon. So that works very well. Now you can see at the bottom down here, I drilled a hole through the bottom. So what I do is I'll run a piece of wire through here, wrap it around, come up through this rubber portion right here, and then I loop it back to itself and I clamp it down, and I'll show you that here in a minute. What you need to do is go to your fishing department, pick up some steel leader. This one here is 45-pound test. Comes in a roll. It's real lightweight, real thin, and that will hold your holster in there. You won't have to worry about nylon strings or anything like that breaking. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to pick up a pair of pliers, and these pliers clamp down this little metal tube. Hope you can see that good. Once you put it on the leader, you'll cinch it down, and that'll hold the leader onto the seatbelt mount when you put it in the vehicle. The next thing you're going to need is your holster. We'll have to have holes drilled in the bottom and the front. It'll run down to the seatbelt holder, run around, and come back up to the screw, which will loop around and then come back to itself, and that's when you'll put this on. So you need to just cut you off by 2-3 foot, give yourself some extra to run it through for your holster. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little metal tube, slide it onto here, onto the leader, slide my leader through the holes in the front of the holster. Then I'm going to come back through that metal tube again. What it's going to create is it's going to create a loop. If I can do this without my glasses on. Okay. And then I pull it down. It's enough that it moves, but it's not too big of a loop. About like that, if you can see it there. And then once I do that, I'm going to cinch down that little metal tube. I don't know if I told you the metal tube you get at the fishing department. It's for making leader lines for fishing. So once I clamp that down, I'm good to go. I'll just take that little extra that's hanging off there, and I'll just cut it off. That way there's no extra. So I got that part done. Now what I'll do is I'll put this on the seatbelt. I'll run this underneath the seatbelt mount, and it's going to come back. Let me just show you here. The same thing I did on the other side, make a loop on this side. So the seatbelt mount is down here, and then I pull it back to itself, and essentially it's like this. So what you have here is you have my seatbelt release, and then you have my center console, and then you have the seatbelt portion where if you have a passenger, they will use that seatbelt. When I put my holster in here, you're still able to use the seatbelt if you have someone riding in the center. That's not going to get in the way at all. So I already have my holster here, the one side of the leader line on there. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to place the belt clip. Goes in that plastic piece where the seatbelt goes. That little plastic tube. And then it just merely sits right there. Now I'm going to run the leader line underneath the mount for this middle seatbelt, and then come back up here like I said and make my loop and pull it snug, and that'll be it. Okay, now you can see the back of the seatbelt mount. It comes up underneath here, comes up to that screw that's in the holster, back out to one of those little metal tubes. I pull it snug, clamp the metal tube, and that's it. Just cut off the extra leader that's hanging off there, and you're good to go. So this here is the finished product. Notice it's right by the seatbelt release. And I'll show you kind of how I now
get
I'm
it to
sitting in my
function.
vehicle, and if I have a situation where I need to draw my weapon, I can reach down in the side, get a grasp of the handle. At the same time, I put my thumb on the seatbelt release. And then as I push the seatbelt release, I lift up on the weapon, and I have a grasp of the weapon now in my hand. Everything put back in. One of the good things about having my gun where I'm placing it that I found is I can actually put my hand on my weapon on my side. I don't have to release the seatbelt, but I can just have my hand there, and I don't really look suspicious because that's a normal movement for someone taking off their seatbelt. So if I have a situation where someone comes up and I'm not sure about this person, I can kind of lean out, I can put my hand on the seatbelt, and if everything's good, I can continue on as I was. But if it turns into an altercation where it's something where I need to draw my weapon, I can draw my weapon that fast. That's why I like it on my side, not on my door, not above my head, not between my legs on my seat, and not in the center console. Quick access, that's what I like.